Meeting will come to order. Would you all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Mr. Castanetti. Mr. Castanetti.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much.
I didn't hear you call my name.
No invited guests, Wendy, correct?
None this evening.
Thank you. First on the agenda is a request from the Hilltop for a change of manager to Donald Dowd. I would like to let folks know that there have been questions raised regarding the change of a manager at a location that is no longer operating. The law requires that a manager of record be in the care and custody of any active liquor license when it's held, and the previous manager has passed away. With that, I will recognize Attorney Rossetti and Mr. Dowd. Thank you.
We're here on a formality. As you know, Hilltop is no longer open. However, the liquor license was renewed. One of the requirements is that there be a manager of record. The previous manager was Leonard DeRosa. He passed away. Because of the closing and because of all the changes, we have a new manager, Mr. Don Dowd. Don was the, I guess you call him, second in command. He has numerous qualifications. I think you have a copy of his curriculum vitae that shows his experience. If you have any questions for him, he'd be very happy to answer them. And after you're finished, I'll be happy to give you a little update on what's happening at the location.
Thank you. Yep. Members of the board, any questions to Mr. Dowd? You want to just give us a little background, sir?
I've been with the Hilltop for 36 years. I started in '78 as a cook, worked my way through, and worked with Lenny since then. He hired me in '78, and we've been working together ever since. So I've done just about everything in there, from cooking, running the kitchen, running the bar, functions, the whole bit. So I've been in the business about almost 45 years now.
Okay. As Mr. Rossetti said, all of the information required for this has been submitted. Are there any further questions?
Madam Chairman?
Selectman Dever?
Only one question, sir. Good evening. You've had some TIPS training, or would...
Yes, I've been
Obtain
Serve
tips
Safe,
training
Serve Safe
should-
food and liquor certified.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Attorney Rossetti?
Okay. I did speak to, do you want to take a vote, or would you?
Madam Chairman, I'll make the motion to
Prior to?
appoint Don Dowd as the new manager at the Hilltop.
Seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of...
Aye.
Aye. All
Okay.
those opposed, motion passes 4-0.
Great. Just to give you an update, I did speak with the management today. We don't have any definitive plans that I can tell you about today, but I have been told that there should be a decision coming down very shortly. We're talking probably several months. We are attempting to also work with the Economic Development Committee in town, so they're probably going to be the first ones to be told, after you, of course, as to what will be happening there. There have been several very promising offers that look interesting. Unfortunately, they really can't divulge the information while it's under negotiation. But it is looking very promising. We expect to have decisions made within the next few months and seeing something happen on the site before the summer. So that's hopefully a lot of things happening. Right now, it looks kind of lonely, being all closed up. If there's any other questions, certainly try to answer them.
Madam
Let's keep it
Chairman, I
simple.
only have one.
Sure.
The security and the status of the building, have you
Yes.
had any difficulties with it? Is it patrolled? Is it monitored?
Okay, the management team is on site daily. There are people in the building 24 hours a day. There is an alarm system. Before any of this happened, they met with the manager, the police chief, and the fire chief to go over a plan for shutting the building down. It is controlled, as I said. They've had no incidents, no vandalism or anything of that nature. There are people on site every day. So it is under control, and hopefully things will continue until the negotiations are complete.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Good
the
luck. Good
update.
evening.
Good luck. Thank you. Next on the agenda is Saugus American Little League request for parade permit and an invitation. Dear Selectmen, Saugus American Little League is requesting a parade permit for our 2014 opening day ceremonies. The opening day is April 26, 2014 at 9 a.m. The parade route will leave Annapoca at approximately 9 a.m. We will proceed down Essex Street through Cliftondale Square, down Lincoln Avenue, Central Street, and ending up on Hurd Avenue at Grabowski Field for the opening day ceremonies. We usually arrive at Hurd Avenue at approximately 9:30. In the past, we have asked that all parade walkers report to Annapoca no later than 8:15. We allow no traffic into Annapoca after 8:30, as we have children lined up at that time. We would be planning to follow these same procedures. We will also be requesting a fire truck at the beginning of the parade and a police cruiser at the rear. And the purpose is, again, the opening day ceremonies for 2014 Little League season. It does give us contact information and invites the board to participate in the ceremonies.
Madam Chairman, I'll make the motion to grant the permit for the parade. And I have to say that welcome relief after this winter.
Selectman Castanetti moves to grant the request of Saugus American Little League for parade and permit invitation. Seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Next on the agenda is the SETS regarding the town's fiber optics plan. And we received communication that Mr. Ravagno is requesting the opportunity to further discuss the town fiber optics plan at the February 11th, 2014 Board of Selectmen's meeting. Mr. Ravagno.
Madam Chair, we're concerned about the iNet that's currently installed in town.
Excuse me for a moment, just for the record.
Okay, Jim Ravagno, I am Chair of SCTS, Morton Avenue, Saugus.
Thank you very much.
We're concerned with the iNet, and what the iNet is, it's a piece of coax that leaves this building, travels outside, goes through the poles, goes through the manholes, and ends up at the high school. That got installed 34 years ago. It's not holding up. If the viewers at home are watching me right now, you can see around my head, and there's lines coming down right now on TV. If they're home, they can see it. That's degradation. It's going to fall apart. So if it does fall apart, it probably might happen before a Board of Selectmen's meeting. I don't know. You never know these things. It could happen at any time, which means we're going to have to maybe call Comcast, and maybe they're going to go up in the pole and fix it. We don't know. So between here and the high schools are several different repeaters, because you lose the signal, it has to get boosted all along again. That's all going to have to be replaced, sorry. So in hindsight, we'd like to get on the town's fiber optic network. With a fiber optic link from here to the high school, we can then go to Comcast and ask them for an HD channel for this very thing. And everybody will get to see what you guys look like in HD. With all that in mind, we're excited about going, and we would just like to get on the project plan for this. And we need, we have the money. We're willing to spend the money to get this done. And I think it's good for the town. It's good for Founder's Day, because that means when we broadcast live for Founder's Day, it'll be in HD. hopefully, but we have the capability of going that way. So we're looking for the Board of Selectmen to help us with the town to get on the plan for fiber optic. That's what we're looking for at this time.
Madam Chairman?
Selectmen-
Jim, who's responsible for the maintenance of the coax that's in existence right now? Who installed it, do you know?
Continental Cablevision installed that thing 34 years ago.
It was a cable company?
Yeah.
Now, does Comcast bear any responsibility for maintaining that now?
I'm afraid they're going to
Or
say...
replacing it?
I'm afraid they're going to say no. That's the whole thing. And with the contract coming up next year with Comcast, I don't know, maybe that's a bargaining chip with them? I don't know at this point.
Is there anything
So,
in the current contract that addresses it?
Nothing. Yeah, we own it. That's all it says.
The town owns it, or
Well,
Saugus Cable owns it?
Saugus Cable owns it. So that's the hard part of the whole thing. It's the ifs and the whens and the hows. We don't know. And like I said, if we go to Comcast and we ask them, can you go fix our coax, they just might say no. They might say, well, you go call an outside vendor. So we go call an outside vendor, and the money is going to be probably the same amount of money that it's going to take to put on fiber optics. Wouldn't make any sense to go fix the coax at that point. So we're just trying to get ahead of everything. And we're just trying to get into the new millennium. We're trying to get the HD channels done. We're trying to get a lot of things done. Unfortunately, it's always red tape or a snag or something holding us up. So,
Could you explain yourself when you say red flags, you're hitting, are you not, I looked through the materials that you gave us, the plans for it, and I have zero expertise in any of this, so I'm going to rely on you for the
okay, you can.
information.
I'm an engineer for the Air Force. My background is cyber integrations. I know about networking. The company I work for invented that little @ sign in your email.
Okay.
So, and Steve, I think you know my background anyway.
I do,
So,
Jim, yeah.
Why don't you explain to us, though, how we can help you? What is it that you're asking us for?
I'm trying to ask you to talk to perhaps the town manager and let us speak to the program people who are running this project in order to, so we can get a good idea of what we're doing.
Is this a continuation, if I may, is this a continuation of the discussion that took place at your meeting on January 16th?
Yes.
It is. My understanding, sir, is that you have communicated with the IT specialist here at the town hall.
We have, and I think it's gone dry. We've
It's
been.
what?
The communication has gone dry.
Right, the communication between the town manager's office and the communication between the IT specialist, correct?
Correct.
That's what I've heard.
Right.
Mr. Manager, your thoughts on this? Have you received communication from them regarding this issue, and what was your response to this?
I'm not sure in regard to I guess I'm confused on what the issue is with the INET compared to what
Well,
the project of running the black wire.
Okay, if I could speak.
Yeah.
The idea is to go to fiber optic. And we've communicated with yourself and Mr. Rivers on going forward with that. We got a plan from Mr. Rivers, but unfortunately it doesn't cover SCTS. There's nothing in that network diagram that says anything about SCTS. I mean, the senior center's on there, the pump house is on there, there's 3 different segments on there. We're not on there. And, you know, I don't mind, you know, paying for something. We have the funds to do it. But it's always been my understanding, having been in the situation and in the industry, I need a project plan. I mean, I need to know what's going to happen. I need to know who's going to come in the high school to put in a switch for us. I need to know when the network connection's coming in. I need to know a bunch of things. I need to know who's going to be the IT support for this. There's a whole slew of things that we need to know, and we just don't know what's going on.
Well, currently, the project that's put in place now is just to run the black wire, the fiber optics at this point, and then there'd be a second phase to have to look at what, and I'm not a technical person, but what would be needed to, you know, to make the connections or the switches or whatnot. That would be a different phase of it.
Well, the easiest connection for us, saying we're at the high school, and I put the fiber optic network in the State House, so I got a little experience in fiber optic. We could splice into that, and that's short money. That's probably...
Well, I think it sounds like, and basically, part of this goes back, I think, with the previous director years ago. That was the proposal that was put together by that board and that director, and that's, all we did was get we had the quote and the bid renewed for current day and to make the connections there. But it sounds like what you're looking at is trying to do some other things that might be needed in addition to your needs at SCTV. So I mean, I don't have a copy of the plan that you have, but if I can get a copy that we can sit down and figure out and incorporate if there's more that's needed. We can also try to look at Comcast if there's additional monies for infrastructure, because I know in the agreement, it talked about a capital expenditures back in '06 or '08. I'm not sure if the town ever received those, because you sort of, I think you have to put a project in there, but in any event, we can certainly look at it, because it sounds like with this INET and all that stuff, that there's some other needs with this, with the
Well,
cable
what I
company.
would like to happen is, personally, seeing, I mean, this is right in my wheelhouse, this is what I do for a living, I've made my living this way for 34 years. I'd like to talk, is it Bearing Networks? I have no idea. I don't know who's doing the infrastructure on that thing. I would personally like to talk to them so I know it goes right.
Okay.
And that's who I need to be in touch with. I need to know what IP addresses we're going to get. I need to know how many, what size switch they're going to give us, how much the switch is, everything. It's got to go in the rack in the high school. Someone has to do a site survey. Like I said, this is in my wheelhouse, so these are the people I need to talk to. If it's going to happen, I'd like to talk to them, I'd like to get a price from them, and I'd like to run with it.
Madam Chairman?
Selectman Dever.
I had an opportunity to watch your last meeting, so I have a little bit of background. It's very clear you have a lot of expertise in this area. And I'd like to make a suggestion. Mr. Manager, it looks like Comtract provided the town with a budget quotation. So was there an RFP that went out for this, and in response, there was this budget submitted?
I believe so. I have to take a
So,
look at what was actually
Has it
put
been
together.
awarded to them already?
I think that that's a proposal. I don't think it's been awarded.
So my suggestion, I think it would be helpful, both to SCTS and to the town, given all of your expertise, to maybe suggest a meeting with yourself and Mr. Ravagno and the IT director, and possibly come up with a workable solution that would allow meetings to continue to be televised and maybe tap into that expertise. That would be my suggestion. And the second question I had for you, sir, is in watching your meeting and listening to your level of expertise, you did I understand you correctly that the cost to do what you'd like to do is very small in comparison to the size of this first phase for $99,000?
Okay, so what you're looking at right now, that cost for $99,000, if you read that carefully, that is just for laying down the fiber optic. That's not the cost ensued in configuring the IT. That's nothing to do with any of that. It's not anything to do with firewalls. It's nothing. That's just the physical piece of fiber optic that's being laid through the town. That's all that cost is right there. So in order for, which is, I would call phase one of a project. So the second phase would be after that is to hook into the existing backbone that it's going to, which I believe is Melrose. So once that is done, then that all gets configured for the town. And I'm probably thinking there's probably going to be a third phase to that once I don't know, I'm just talking because my experience. The third phase to that would be to hook up the rest of the town and along with the school, because the schools already have fiber optic. So at one point, everything could be hooked up, everything could talk to each other, everything will start working. So, but like I said, the part I'm talking about is, and I already talked to the school committee, I talked to Superintendent Tempesta today about this as well, and basically I talked to his IT person, and he said the best thing for us to do would, yeah, let's go hook into the high school. So we're talking a couple hundred feet of redundant fiber optic. So there's six of one, half dozen that way you can do it, whichever way we do it.
Madam Chairman, I would just say that on face value, it seems like a very good use of funding, of ratepayer money that has been used to establish SCTS. I just think that bringing the parties together so the needs are met would benefit everyone. So I would hope that that could happen very quickly before any action is taken.
Madam Chairman, I would suggest, I mean, you seem to be, have a ton of expertise with this type of work. I'm not an IT person.
No, I know.
We'd be happy to have you come right on as the project manager of it and help us put it together. Because this, like I said, this is the first phase of just trying to get the fiber optics run.
I would like
and
that.
just
That would
get the
be,
approval so
I
that
have
we
no
go on.
problem with that. Like I said, I've been doing this a long time. I know what to look for. I do this for the Air Force. I have engineers under me. And, yeah, I do this for a living. And just so the board knows, when I worked for Nortel Networks, my rate was $650 an hour with a minimum of 4 hours. So you're getting it for nothing, so that's a good thing, so. Yeah, I'm willing to work with
get
anybody. Yeah, I know.
Madam
So-
Chairman,
Selectman Castanetti.
you mentioned a second ago about tying it to the high school as a redundant.
Actually, when you run fiber, you're supposed to run dual channel, two in case one goes down. So the idea would be if one fails, go to the other one. So we would have to run basically 2 lines. Everybody normally runs 2 lines.
2 separate feeds. then,
Two
you're
separate
saying.
feeds, exactly, if you want to call them feeds, trunks, whatever. Yeah, 2 separate. It's,
So are all the other buildings in town going to be wired redundantly as well?
I don't know.
You don't know,
I
okay.
can't tell you.
Okay.
I haven't seen the plan, so.
But that's what you're looking for, correct?
Yeah, it should be done that way.
No, you're looking to have better communication so that you can have an inclusive role in what the plan is moving forward.
Correct.
Is that not what brought you here tonight?
That's what brought me here today, correct.
Okay.
So, and like I said, I mean,
So it was a breakdown in communication. Those are easily corrected when
Right.
there's a breakdown in communication. Unfortunately, they sometimes happen, sometimes too often, but unfortunately it did. Timeframe that you think that you perhaps can meet with Mr. Ravagno? Mr. Ravagno, you folks want to speak tomorrow? You want to email each other? How do you want to handle this? I think that this needs to just...
balls in your court. You
Yeah, I
tell me.
would suggest maybe next week. We have a lot this week, but
All right.
maybe next
Okay, why don't we
week.
refer this to the town manager?
Okay.
And hopefully we'll be able to tap into some of your expertise and
Right.
get this moving along because it's a pretty important project for
Thank you, Madam
everybody.
Chair.
Madam Chairman, I'd also just
Selectman Detta.
hope that, once this meeting takes place, we can get an update
Sure.
moving
That would
forward,
be
because I think
fabulous.
there's great interest in what will be done and how it will benefit the town.
Yeah, I think that just, I guess to reiterate, what the issue right now was to try to get monies so that we could go out and hire somebody to put the fiber optics down. What you're talking about is the second and third phase
Right.
of the technical part of the switches. So that wasn't part of what we were initially doing at this point. And this is something that, obviously was from before, but just so, I guess, so we be clear on, I guess, where we're going. If you want to be a part of that, we're happy to have you with your
I
expertise.
saw something in the SCTS documentation. It was with what we filed to Galvin's office back in 2007, and it even says there that we should be overseeing the project anyway. It's not, and the sad part about the whole thing, it says it in that document and doesn't appear in any other document. So, but with that in mind, I mean, it says it in there, it's registered with the state that way. Is it in the town agreement? No, it's not there. So it's crazy, so.
Well,
It's-
hopefully your coming forward will make this a little bit of a
Yeah,
smoother.
this will be a great thing
processes.
for the town. Like I said, this will be good for the town.
Great.
The whole thing, so I'm excited about it, so.
Well,
Things
well-
like this excite me, so.
Part of it too is if you look at part of with the agreement with the Comcast, is all the public buildings are supposed to have an ability to have cable and PEG access into the buildings, and we don't have that in all the
No,
buildings.
no, in going to that type of a network, that's something we can do on the side as well, on a separate, we can do it. It's IP, you can do anything over IP. So, you don't know what I'm talking about, right? Sorry.
But
Okay.
we're learning. We are
Okay.
learning.
Internet protocol, so.
That's why if you can meet with the
All
town
right,
manager
all right.
and the IT director, that's your areas of expertise, do it in a reasonable fashion and get back to the board as to the outcome and the processes that you're going to follow, that would be
Okay,
fabulous.
that sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you so
We
much for coming
appreciate you
this
coming
evening.
forward, Mr.
We got
Ravagno.
Mr. Ravagno, before you do that, you want to make a motion to refer this to the town manager and to the IT department to get back to the board?
Yes, so move, Madam Chair. And again, I also want to thank you for coming forward this evening, because clearly you have a lot of expertise, and we're not fiber optic experts, and anything that you can do to work with our town manager and IT director would be most beneficial for the town. So I will make that in the form of a motion, Madam Chair.
Seconded by the chair. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very
Motion
much.
passes.
Thanks
Thank
again.
you. Next on the agenda is the Board of Selectmen's annual report. This report obviously goes from July 1st of 2012 to June 30th of 2013. The former chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Mr. Serino, has reviewed this, correct?
Correct.
Mrs. Reed, he has reviewed this, and I have received communication from Selectman Panetta that you would like something included in this, correct?
Correct.
Okay, did you bring the hard copy with you, or will just, Wendy knows the policy you want in it?
Yes, Wendy
Okay.
knows the policy I want, and it referred to the solid waste policy that was voted on unanimously on June 18th. I sent a copy of it to Wendy today and carbon copied the chair, just to give you a heads up that I'd like that to be included. And I would also like to thank our clerk, because I think she did an excellent job. Every year, to be able to calculate and tabulate the way you do, so thank you very much for putting this together and doing such a great job.
Do you want to make that in the form of a motion or not?
Yes, so moved, Madam Chair, thank you.
Okay. Selectman Panetta moves to insert the policy, I just don't have the wording, forgive me.
Oh, do you want me, I just,
So you read it.
okay. What I was going to say was, it was the policy regarding the solid waste facility, regarding the ash emissions in landfill.
Seconded by the chair. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you so much, both Mrs. Panetta and Mrs. Reed. Next, we have on here the Selectmen's draft budget. We have gone over this, and there was not an opportunity. You'll see on your budget drafts that it is in freehand, because there is not an opportunity to put it in the computer. All of you have had a chance to look at this. Are we comfortable voting on this part tonight?
Madam Chair?
Selectman Panetta?
Regarding legal services, I thought somebody was going to follow up to see, because the charter says that we can only include this for legal services for the selectmen for investigations or surveys. So I don't know what this, I think I asked the question the last time.
You did.
And I think the town manager was going to follow up. Somebody was going to follow up and to see, back in 2011, there was some concern, it was put in, it was then taken out.
Right.
But if the charter says that we can't, unless we are going to have an investigation or a survey, and then we could put money in, but in lieu of that, I'm not sure whether we can do this or not.
Okay, I would like to have this amount of monies left in the budget for, to have the discussion on this. This was proposed in January of 2011. It was proposed at the time by Selectman Crabtree. He spoke at length on it to take $50,000 of the legal budget and to put it into a line in the Selectmen's budget. The member, Mike Serino, had made a statement that he had requested this previously and that he thought it was a great idea to have the monies available for the selectmen to be able to perform their jobs. Words such as having an opportunity for transparency, for tracking legal fees, those were all in the minutes of January of 2011. If it wasn't going to be in this fashion, we can certainly talk to FinCom and see what their ideas are, but I do not want to see this taken out at this point. Certainly, it's a decision of the entire board, but I would like to see this amounts of money for discussion purposes to be put forward to the bodies who make the decisions, the final decisions on the budgets.
Madam Chairman?
Selectman Deva?
In looking at the minutes that you refer to, and in looking in the charter, and in looking at our role,
Yes.
I think I agree with you that it's time to have a conversation.
Yes.
And a conversation with FinCom, possibly with town meeting. I think it's something that we need to have that conversation about. So I would agree that we would leave it in.
Thank you. And clearly, we're not the first board who felt this way. This is something that, and I don't know if other avenues were explored. The minutes only reflect to a certain point. So I'd like to get further input from FinCom and perhaps even town meeting, but I would like to at least not just drop this at this given time.
Madam Chair,
Selectman Panetta?
thoughts on where the 50,000 in legal services would come from? Would it come from legal services in any other budget, or would this
Yes.
be? Okay, so this is an
Yes,
over
so once
and
we
on-
get the budget, I believe that this, forgive me for interrupting, but I believe that the town manager, he has until Saturday, the 15th, to get us our budget. And I believe that's the date we'll be getting it. So the reviewing of the budget, I can't tell you because I don't have it in front of me,
Right, no, I just was,
where the funding would be becoming available from. But certainly, as we all know, when we're going through the budgets, there has to be an identification as to where those funds would be coming from.
absolutely,
And I am completely aware of that.
okay.
Thank you.
And, Madam Chair?
Yes.
I see the professional and technical skills services is $2,500, and
Correct.
that's fine. And then you have dues and membership with no dollar amount. Did you want to put a dollar amount in there?
Yes, actually, at our last meeting, when we discussed that, the town manager was actually going to look into, I have a note here that you were going to check on what the dues was for the, had you had a chance to do that? I know you've been very
On
busy.
which dues?
It's for the association dues?
I think that actually is for the whole town, and that comes out of, I think is in my budget.
Okay, so we have a line here that's $100, so it always comes out of your budget. If there's an
I'll
association...
have to look at it, yeah. I think that the MMA comes out, it's for the town, and then anybody becomes a member.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
So this is zero.
No. It's up here. Because you already have the dues and memberships, he's saying is coming up here, and that would be the association dues. You're putting an extra line in there, Wendy, is that it?
No, there was $100.
It was the
in that line.
$100 earlier from the association dues further up in the budget, correct?
Yes, that used to be the Selectmen's Association. When they merged with MMA, it became one, and it was paid out of one line item for the whole town, like the manager said. But that 100 had always stayed in there for other memberships that you may want.
Okay.
You can reduce that to $1 just to keep it active, or do away with it altogether if that's the case.
Madam Chairman, one of the things we talked about, and I will admit I haven't had a chance to research it yet, it is on my list, and I will get it done before we meet
You're a very busy
to
woman.
discuss budgets, but to explore some of the avenues and opportunities available to selectmen that meet regionally, that work with one another and support one another. So I wanted to just take a look at that and see if those are opportunities we might want to take advantage of. So before we meet on our budget review, I'd pretty much like to see that stay in there.
The $100 fee, okay.
Madam Chair,
Selectman Panetta.
so was the $100 up in here someplace? or
It's
is
right
it-
here. Association dues,
Okay, so.
right here.
So it's here?
It is
So we
here.
don't, so there's nothing else that needs to be put here?
No.
Because it's up here?
Correct.
That was my question before, okay.
Because as she just said, the Mass Selectmen Association now is all part of the Mass Municipal Association, so
Okay.
that was in there, okay?
Perfect. Yeah,
And
no,
And I believe that the town manager was going to verify whether or not there was any other places that we need to address, and you don't believe there are, right? Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, no, the only reason was because we had something here, and I wasn't sure if it was already up here or not.
That's
and
right,
I didn't
know when
want
it's
to.
in freehand, it's really hard to follow.
I get it, it's perfect, thank you.
Thank you so much. Any further discussion on our draft budget for the Board of Selectmen? Selectman Allen?
Underneath the 5,300 line for the legal services,
Yes.
would, having that budget, would it be in our advantage to also call it legal services / consulting services? in case-
Absolutely, that's a great idea.
Madam Chair, with consulting services, they'll go under a different line item.
Do they?
So we really should break that out, I would think.
That's a great idea. It is a great idea.
Which to break it out, it's,
Consultation services.
Right, but it needs to be, it's a different line item. So
It'd be a totally
when we
different line
send it to the Finance Committee, we're going to have to separate the two.
Okay.
okay. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but I'll find out.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chair, I'll just make one more comment.
Sure.
I will, in harmony with the board, I will vote in favor of this, but I just want to go on record and say I do feel uncomfortable with legal services and with the $50,000, but again, in harmony with the board, I will vote in favor of this so that it could be discussed at the FinCom.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wendy, what I don't see you on here, do you need a vote from us tonight on this, Wendy? No.
Our budget.
It's our budget, okay, because I don't see, unless I sit here and do the math, I think I'm going to hold off on actually voting this until Tuesday, because I don't see the final bottom line number on here.
Yeah, I'm supposed to have it to the treasurer's office by last
By-
week.
by last- okay.
meeting, but
All
that-
right, then why don't, if we want to take a 2-minute recess, I'll do the math. Okay.
Madam Chairman, if I could just, is it absolutely necessary you have it this evening, or can we give it to you after our budget meetings on Monday and Tuesday?
We can have it later.
Great.
You don't need it as part of the town budgets, because you're just going to be presenting it to us, and then we add this to yours, correct?
No, in other words, I make a recommendation to the board, and then the board makes the recommendation to FinCom. So either way, I mean, if you want to transfer it, whenever, tomorrow or the next day.
Okay, you know, we'll have, if we could vote this, but we can vote this if we read it individually, but we're not going to have a cumulative amount, because I'm not going to sit here and do this longhand.
Right.
Okay?
I do.
So, if somebody would like to make a motion and go down each line.
Okay, Madam Chair, I'll make a motion for the chairman's budget of $2,000. Do we have to do them individually?
No, just go right down.
Oh, I thought you wanted everybody to do them.
No, just read them right down.
Oh, okay. Board members, 7,200, clerk, 26,767, office machine maintenance, 35,967, advertising, 1,500, printing and reproduction, 200, office supplies, 1,000, association dues, 100, legal book expense, 2,500, legal services, 50, legal services / consulting, and we'll eventually break that out, 50,000, prof and technical services, 2,500.
Seconded by the chair. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. This brings us to citizens' comment period. Would you please come up and give your name and address, please? Thank you.
Robert Camuso, 27 Eustace Street. I'm still having issues down the end of my street. I have been calling the police. A lot of unwanted, undesirable people going down there. A lot of kids with their four-wheel drive trucks, cars going down there. There's a lot. I just can't see how the town can't put up signage, or the property owner can put up saying no trespassing, do not enter, police take notice, plastic barrels, anything, because, I mean, what do we, it sounds like your hands are tied. I mean, I understand that, but there's been a couple incidents where a couple guys in trucks going down there, hanging around, lights off. I mean, if they're going down my street with the lights off, they obviously know they're up to no good. All right, they hang out down there. I'm sure there's deals going on down there. I can say it. I have no problem and confident that there are deals going on. I have called the police, but it's impossible for them to get down there fast enough. It just, I was on the phone with the police officer. The guy saw me. He blacked out his headlights and everything. He went down the street, came back. I send my kids in the house, because just who knows who he is or whatever he's happening. 2 guys in a truck. I'm trying to talk to the police officer. He's obviously put snow over his plate in the back, down towards the bumper. I couldn't catch that plate. There was a blue Dodge. I explained it to the police officer. They put me on hold. I explained which way he went towards Cliftondale Square, and I told him to keep record. He asked my name, phone number. Bob Luongo, I did contact him a couple of times. He has called me back. He said the town manager and the building inspector did take a drive down there to see if there was dumping. There is some dumping. Bob told me that they went down, they didn't see anything, but if you're going further down, you pretty much need a four-wheel drive truck to get down on the back of the foundation. You have to go down the embankment and down around. You can see the tracks. I think there's a TV and a couple of trash bags back there. I just can't see, well, if someone comes down the street, it'll solve so many issues, because people don't believe it's a dead-end street for starters. But if they can see the signage ahead of them and realizing that there's no place to go, I mean, it's just too easy for the people to go down there, because, I mean, somebody plowed it. I don't know who plowed it, the entranceway. It made it accessible. I don't know if it was the person that plows the streets, but I got to press this issue, because I understand that it's a church and property owner Donano, but the street. I have neighbors asking me, have I talked to? I don't want to set a town meeting up and have Mr. Luongo come when there's really nothing for him to tell me that's resolved. I mean, this is not like a new thing.
Madam Chairman? If I could ask Mr. Caruso, didn't you say to me a little earlier that there had been a meeting with Mr. Donano?
Well, that's what Mr. Luongo says. He had a meeting. He talked to him on the phone, and he says he was going to talk to the church people, I believe. That's what I believe he told me. He called me twice last week. He said he was having a meeting, I think Monday, which would be yesterday, I think maybe.
Madam Chairman, the reason that I ask you that question and make sure that I understood you is that if we are having conversations, I think the simple question is, how can he secure his property to prevent what's happening and have the neighbors not impacted? If we're having that conversation, can we not at least ask him?
I mean, I understand that there's a issue of shutting somebody off from their property, but plastic barrels are movable for them. With people coming down that are up to no good. I mean, I understand a lot of them are kids just goofing off and want to go four-wheeling with their trucks, but there's undesirable people that I don't want in my neighborhood. I mean, they're down there, they're doing what they're not supposed to be doing because it's accessible, too easy. There's zero signage there. There's no blockades. We put up a tree, some of my neighbors put large, heavy trees. Someone during the night moves them, goes down there. There's got to be a few guys to move the trees. I mean, I just can't see, I don't want to put a rope or anything because the kids go down there in the four-wheelers and, hopefully, just to say that doesn't happen, that's to hurt somebody with intentions, but there's something, I mean, they were able to have the access for when they had the meeting with the Board of Appeals, and he was for years trying to get access down my street with the 40B project on the Saugus side. He was granted the access for the project down my street. The yellow gate on Laurel Street was put up. The 40B project never happened, but he put the access down the end of my street. If he didn't do the project, how's he allowed the access? So he enticed the city, the board. They gave him the access down my street, but nothing from that point has happened.
Perhaps, Mr. Manager, we could, I know you say Mr. Luongo has been working very closely with the city of Revere in regards to this property. This issue is a little bit different than what we have talked to before because there is no activity going on.
No construction vehicles, correct.
And I'm going to tell you that in fairness to the employees here in our community, as recently as this afternoon, I received pictures of activity down there. That was from that area, correct? The folks have gone down to Eustace Street. They've gone down through Eustace Street. They've gone down around Laurel Street. They're certainly keeping an eye on that property for you. But now what you're seeing is you're seeing a whole different set of circumstances take
Correct.
place. You're seeing access to that property
It's too easy.
that you feel, okay.
You know, Madam Chairman, if I could, perhaps if we made a motion, perhaps if I made a motion that we instruct the property owner to secure the property, it would be beneficial. Is that an option, Mr. Manager? I guess is what I'm asking.
I think that the challenge is that we had gotten a couple of legal opinions from town council, and in fact, it's not a dead end, and in fact, we can't put anything that prevents somebody from entering their property, and that you guys have had the legal opinions on that.
I remember the legal opinion, and I know that we cannot block, but can we secure in some way? I mean, I'm thinking of Laurel Street, the very picture you showed us today, with a gate.
Yeah, I don't,
So-
we wouldn't be able to do that legally.
So I would ask, why was a gate allowed? You say,
Because that's Saugus's property, I believe.
That's correct.
Where he's talking is we abut into Riviera. Am I correct?
Yes,
Mr.
that's correct.
Manager?
Yes.
could I ask one more question? I'm sorry, Madam Chairman.
No
Mr.
worries.
Manager, do you have some suggestions on how we can assist these neighbors?
Well, I think, that, like the chairman spoke about, I think that the circumstances now, what he's talking about is probably not unlike other roadways that may not be throughways, where cars may go down or whatnot. That's different than the construction issues. I would certainly, we can increase patrols in that area, and obviously have him call the police if somebody's down there. But I mean, I was actually down there as early as yesterday, and walked the property, spoke to a few neighbors, and there isn't a lot of activity in the sense of the construction, and there wasn't, I mean, there was snow and whatnot, but it didn't seem to be any debris. But so I mean, I think it's difficult until we figure out what the developers are doing, and I don't think there's nothing in the works as far as what they have. But I mean, I would suggest the vehicles that he's talking about, if people are going down there with the lights off and whatnot, then we definitely need to have the police involved in that, rather than him getting involved himself, because you never know what can happen. But I think that that's not unlike some other areas that aren't throughways or dead ends, that have that kind of activity, and they call, and the police have to go down and see what's going on. And once you sort of root them out of that area, then they sort of find another place to go.
Selectman Castanetti.
Through you to the manager. You said it's not, legally not a dead end, is that what we're saying? So we can't post it as a dead end?
That's correct.
What about signs saying no outlet, not a throughway, or something to that effect? So did we get the same message out and cover ourselves legally? Any reason why we can't post those signs?
I think the board could definitely put a sign up that says no, and I don't know if there is one already. There are quite a few signs up and down the street.
There is,
I believe there is one already that says no outlet.
Just a question. Last meeting I was here, I handed some papers showing that there was a vote in front of the board making that street a legal dead end.
You did, but manager's saying that town council ruled that it's not a dead end. So I don't know where we stand on that one.
Well, that was another question I had, because years ago, that was just a walkway path to access the property. The only reason that made a car path, because there was a residence built back there. There was no initial agreement for Mussey Street to connect to Eustis Street, because it actually wraps around that. So I asked Mr. Luongo, when did that street actually become legally married into Eustis Street? It never did. There's nothing illegal. So it's just, they accepted it, and because there was a property owner back there. It was a walkway, and the road actually went out to Route 1. It was a carriage road years ago when Mr. Schultz got up. But it just, because there's a resident, a walkway widened. Now you're able to drive a car down it. And this is what happened to the resident, and he made it so he was able to access his house. So it was just accepted. There was a street sign put up, Mussey Street. Who put that up, Revere?
But his house is no longer there, correct?
Correct, it's gone. But
Interesting
when did
enough
Mussey Street
is
get
that-
accepted to Eustis Street?
Interesting enough is that somebody took the sign down, it's been there for years, that says Muzzy Street.
It's gone, correct.
As of a week, I mean, I think it was there a week ago or 2 weeks ago. It's now, no, it wasn't there
I
yesterday.
think the plow with it, to be honest with you. I think it's under the snowbank. I'm just curious on when that street got accepted to Eustis Street, because on the papers, on the presentation from the original Board of Appeals, when they contracted him, he showed Muzzy Street coming down, going down to where they blew that road just then, and it never attached really to Eustace Street. There's actually a 11-foot buffer zone there, which is the county line, I believe. I know, understand that over the year, it just got accepted into it, but, you know, it's gonna come to the play where, when they develop that land and, you know, they gotta play it by the books, when did that road actually become, I mean, I know this is a whole different issue to what I'm here for, but,
Right.
Have we gotten a written opinion from town council on the status of that street?
I thought we had that they had access to Muzzy Street.
But
But as far
I
as
guess
the
what I'm
dead
asking
end,
is, we have a written opinion as to whether or not it's a dead end.
I don't recall if we got it.
Because Bobby did provide documentation the last time he was here.
Yes, he did.
That
He
showed it as a
provided to
dead
us.
end.
Yep.
Town council saying it's not a dead end. Somebody's got to be right, somebody's got to be wrong. We need to see it in black and white.
And Madam Chairman, following up on that, as you speak, and as I listen to what you just said, and I'm thinking maybe our answers are found in the Board of Appeals' original decision on this property. I'm not sure. And on top of it, the establishment of the street by town meeting as a dead end was many years ago, several
Correct.
years ago. It was never challenged then as being unenforceable or illegal until now. So it begs the question, why? So I just think some of our answers may be found in the history here.
If I may, our clerk has some information on this, and I'm going to ask Wendy if she would share the information that she shared with me. And I need you to bring the microphone a little closer because people at home like to hear you talk. Thank you.
Yes, in the file, this goes back a long ways. In the 90s, it started coming before the Board of Selectmen. They did, town meeting did, but that was not the proper channel to go to dead end a street. It was the Board of Selectmen, who are the traffic commissioners that set dead ends. Way back in the 90s, Revere offered to annex that property to Saugus so that you could dead end it, but Saugus did not take it.
And when you spoke to me later on this afternoon about this, you were going to
Put that together.
put that together for us. No promises, Mr. Camuso, but it's not something that's being ignored. I think all around it's not being ignored. We are completely aware of the frustrations that are going on down on Eustace Street with the construction on the property itself. Who's buying property here, who's buying property there, who's taking down Muzzy signs. It's got to be extremely frustrating for you and your neighbors.
Yep.
The issue that you're raising this evening, I have to agree with the town manager on this, that unfortunately, when you have those kinds of opportunities for younger folks, they're going to take advantage of that. So that would be something that the town manager, would be able to refer to the police department and work with them, correct, sir?
Just for, so they could keep an eye on it, on regular patrol, they can get down and take a look at it.
I have seen
It's
them down
difficult to,
Yep.
Run into somebody there by chance
Correct,
when they're
yeah.
doing routine patrols, but I think that the best, we'll certainly relay that to the police chief. But, I mean, I think if you have somebody that goes down there, the best thing is to at least get a call, and you might get somebody that'll be able to get down there before they leave and be able to at least make contact with them and then take their information, do a field investigation so that they keep their information, and they tell them if you come back down here again, this, that, and the other thing, at least they know they've been identified who they are. And if they are doing anything illegal, they can.
I have seen them do patrols down there. I have to admit, they have been down there a lot. But I'm just asking if you can talk to the property owner and have them post this property saying, no trespassing, private property. I mean, so somebody knows that when the police catch them down there, they can't say, oh, I didn't know, because it looks like a street. Where if it says no trespassing, police take notice. So when they do catch them down, they can enforce it, not just say, hey, get the heck out of here. And these are the people that we don't want coming down our street.
Sure.
And it's just a matter of time before we get the unwanted or the dump truck come down there who dumps whatever he's not supposed to be down there. And I'll be back up here complaining, and you guys...
You
can-
find it's on a consistent basis, certain time of day, certain days of the
Well,
week?
it's tough for the winter now. I don't know who plowed the street. I mean, I didn't expect that to be plowed like it was. I mean, if it had the big snowbanks like everybody has in front of their house, I don't think they would be able to go down there. But I mean, the snow's gonna melt, and it's just gonna be even opener, and I'm trying to hear just so when you can put the barriers up, if you can, that they go up.
Okay,
All the signage, I'd appreciate it.
thank you so much.
Thank you very
Any
much.
further questions of Mr. Camuso? Thanks again. Good luck.
Excuse me.
Continued hearings. We still have one call to the chair. Espresso Coffee Cafe. This is a continued hearing from our previous meeting because there were some conditions that needed to be met. Mr.
Madam
Attorney
Chair,
Magnan.
Madam Chair, members of the board, for the record, Attorney Richard Magnan, 194 Central Street, Saugus, recently retained by the applicant since the last meeting, Arthur Miko, to help him address some of the concerns that were stated at the last meeting. And Mr. Miko is present here this evening, obviously. This was an application for a common victualer's license to be located at 135 Broadway, and for an extension of the hours of operation to include a 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. Hour. As the chair has stated, this is continued from the last meeting of January 28th to allow Mr. Miko to submit additional materials and information to the different department heads to address the concerns expressed by them. It's my understanding that Mr. Miko has submitted a detailed floor plan, which included an equipment plan, bathroom plan, also a parking plan, and I believe the fire department reviewed plans. Floor plan, which you should have, shows 20 seats at 8 tables. The parking plan indicates more than sufficient parking for that particular number of seats. I believe the apparent remaining issue would be the exterior grease trap comment from the Board of Health. Based upon Mr. Miko's intended use, which is more or less like a coffee cafe, he would be requesting a waiver of the exterior grease trap requirement, and I do have copies of his menu, which I'd like to submit to the board, with your permission.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
As you can see, the drinks are basically coffee, espresso, and the foods are sandwiches and/or bagels, which are no fried foods. They're prepared in a electric oven. They're baked. They're pre-prepared and just heated in an oven without, I would submit, any generation of grease. There's no dishwasher. There's a sink with the under sink grease trap. The food is served in paper goods only, so there's no washing of dishes. And this type of operation is very similar to operations like Subway, which in the past has been granted a waiver of an exterior grease trap. And certainly we're cognizant of the fact that the board is addressing this issue in relation to other applicants that are pending before the board, so that if not a waiver of the grease trap, the applicant would certainly like the opportunity to be able to afford himself of whatever the board and the town decides is a reasonable and acceptable alternative.
Questions from the board?
I have one quick question, Madam Chair.
Selectman Panetta?
Could you please give us the hours again, please?
Hours of operation, Martha?
5 a.m.
Name and address.
Good evening. My name is Arthur Miko, 266 Central Street, and my business is 135 Broadway. Hours is 5 to 9, and the Sunday 6 to 7 or 6 to 8. It's up 6 to 8 is
5 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Sundays.
yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Chairman?
Selectman
If I
Dever?
could just follow up, I want to make sure that I heard you correctly. The foods regarding the grease trap and your request for a waiver, all of the foods are simply heated? None of it is prepared on site?
Just bake it, just put in the oven and take out.
Bacon?
That's it.
So I'm looking at this, sir, just to follow up, I'm looking at bacon, I'm looking at cheese, I'm looking
It's
at
prepared,
sausage.
it's pre-cooked. I just put in the oven. Everything is pre-cooked. I buy per Perkins, like all business, buy pre-cook, put in the oven and sell it.
Madam Chairman,
Selectman Castanetti?
where is it pre-cooked?
In a company, who company make it? I just buy
So
from,
you buy these already made from another company?
yes.
And how do you heat the bacon? Because that's a concern. Bacon, there's a lot of fat in bacon, and I've been trying to be as fair as possible on this grease trap issue, but I'm not gonna waive a grease trap if bacon fat and sausage fat's gonna be going into the system. So what I wanna know is, do you heat the sandwiches up as a whole sandwich, or are you heating the bacon and sausage separately and putting the sandwich
Separately,
together?
separately.
And then where does the fat go after you heat it up? Because there's gotta be residual fat coming out of this food.
No, this one is pre-cooked,
I understand it's pre-cooked,
put
but
in
when you
oven.
heat it up,
heating in the oven and put in a,
but when you heat it up, fat's gonna come out of it, more fat will come out.
but it's pre-cooked, it's not just
But that doesn't mean all the fat is
bacon
gone.
with grease. Or if you want, I don't put the bacon in my,
No,
in my sandwiches, I take out.
you do whatever you wanna do, but
Doesn't
whatever
matter.
you decide you're gonna do is gonna determine how I
For me, it's
vote
too
on the
hard
grease
to
trap.
pay $25,000 for
Yeah.
grease trap. I don't put bacon and I don't want to put 25,000. Here is my deal.
Madam Chair?
It's not for bacon.
Now, what about the sandwiches, like the chicken salad? Do you mix the mayonnaise in the chicken salad
It's
there?
already pre-cooked. Everything is ready.
So that's already made?
All. If you see Perkins, I can give you a list. That's why I buy pre-cooked. So I don't want to cook. So if I cook, I need $25,000 to
Selectman
grease
Allen?
trap.
Yeah, in reference to the waiver on the grease trap, I believe that has to be advertised before we can even make a decision on that.
Madam Chair,
Selectman Panetta?
I'm going to make a suggestion.
Sure.
If we indeed wanted to vote this evening, I mean, I'm concerned with a common vic, you could pretty much do whatever you want to do after we vote this. I mean, they could come before us with another menu, but there's no real control over that. And I'm concerned with what Selectman Castanetti and Selectman Dever said regarding cheese and bacon. You still have to wash it, there's residual fat and so forth. So here's an idea, that you would have to comply within 90 days to the existing or the newly adopted regulations regarding grease traps, because we're still in discussion right now.
That's correct.
We need to either have another meeting,
Which
all
we're
of
planning.
us, and we need to discuss it and talk about internal and external. Does external mean it has to be outside or inside? And you do fall in that category. I mean, we do need to be concerned with the grease that is going to be coming out of your establishment. So that's an idea.
So you're suggesting that it get approved with the 90-day extension on the grease trap?
Yes.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Selectman Deva?
I agree with Selectman Panetta. I think it's a great idea because it will allow you, sir, to operate your business, give you a time frame in which to come into compliance or to modify your menu if need be, allows the board the opportunity to work towards the grease trap issue. So I think it's a great idea.
Is that something you're comfortable with, sir?
Yes. I want to start. I pay, in the February 1st, I pay 4,000 just beginning. Every day for me is tough.
Okay. Okay. Do you have anything further you'd like to bring up, Attorney Magnan?
No, Madam Chair, I do agree that that's a fair and reasonable suggestion. Selectman Panetta.
Thank you. Are there any other questions, comments from the board? Seeing none, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak in favor or opposition? Seeing none, I have a motion to close the hearing. Excuse me.
Can I just note that is not part of the advertised public hearing on the grease trap waiver? He did not apply for one, so that was not advertised.
So we wouldn't even be able to grant him any extension because there was no advertisement in the first place. So all we can do is give him a common victualer's license,
And he'd have to install
and you would have to install it.
or apply.
Okay?
Well, could we ask that he be granted the license conditioned upon compliance with whatever the Board of Health would require in relation to that disposal of grease?
Is that acceptable, Mr. Manager? Would that be an acceptable alternative?
I believe you could do that.
Okay.
Madam Chairman,
Selectman Castanetti?
I have a concern, because if we're going to go by what the Board of Health is requiring, they're requiring an exterior grease trap.
Okay.
And I think a month or so, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago, I don't even know how long ago it was, when we had all that testimony regarding the regulations on grease traps, it was specifically mentioned that it was an exterior type grease trap.
Correct.
I don't want to burden the applicant with an exterior grease trap, the expense of digging up that property, if we don't have to. So I'd be concerned about complying with the Board of Health looking for an exterior grease trap, when that seems to be the whole discussion right now.
Well, I have had conversations with Mr. Giacalone and Mr. Bernard of the Board of Health, and it would be my hope that within some short period of time, the Board of Health and the Board of Selectmen would come to a meeting of the minds regarding a reasonable resolution of the exterior grease trap, which everyone thinks is perhaps somewhat outdated for certain establishments such as this one. So that would be our risk, but I'd be confident in the town being able to come to a reasonable resolution of this issue.
So we give them an extension until we come to a resolution, is that what we're doing?
What the clerk is saying is that we can't because there was never any application for it in the first place.
That's my point.
Basically, you could vote to grant the license with the condition that they're going to comply with the Board of Health's recommendations.
Okay.
And if something changes in the meantime, but, you know, that you could do that conditioned on that they're going to comply
Okay.
as a condition.
Okay. Is that something the board's comfortable with? Okay. Okay, so we see nobody in favor and opposition. Is there a motion to close the hearing?
I'll make a motion to, oh, sorry, go ahead, Paul.
Selectman Allen moves that we close the public hearing. All those in favor? Seconded by the chair. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Can I ask one more question? I'm sorry.
Sure.
There was just a note in here. Is your bathroom handicapped accessible? Thank you.
Okay, would somebody like to make a motion? Go for it, Mrs.
Okay.
Panetta.
I was looking at Mr. Allen, because usually the person who closes. All
We're
righty.
sharing the wealth. Go
We're
ahead.
sharing the wealth. I will make a motion for Espresso Chocolate Cafe LLC to be located at 135 Broadway for a common victualer's license and for extended hours of operations permit. The hours are to be 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Sunday. The number of seats is 20 with 8 tables. And you are going to comply with all of the Board of Health recommendations at this point, which does say an exterior grease trap requirement, as well as any other inspector recommendations, including the fire department, because there was a listing on those as well.
Yes.
Seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck, sir.
Good luck,
Thank you.
sir. Next on public hearings, we have proposed changes to fees set by the Board of Selectmen and charged by the Saugus Fire Department as follows. Change the flammable liquids permit fee from a biannual to an annual permit fee. Deputy Newbury, how are you?
How you doing?
We're well, thank you.
Madam Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Manager, thanks for having me tonight. My name is Mike Newbury. I live at 8 Gilway. I also serve at your pleasure as the Deputy Fire Chief. Ongoing, we're always assessing and looking at the fee schedule in town when it pertains to the fire department, and this is one that's come up. It hasn't come up in 2 years, so I figured I'd come to you before we put the fees back out in the permits this April, so I figured I'd come in front of you now. In its regard to flammable liquid permits, historically, this has been a permit that's been issued on a biannual basis through myself and the rest of the fire prevention team, the chief, Captain Kaminsky, and whatnot. According to 527 CMR Section 1403, storage of flammable liquids, and I think I sent you a cover letter and the law associated with it. It says no flammable or combustible liquids, solids, or gases may be kept, stored, manufactured, or sold without first obtaining on an annual basis, a permit from the head of the fire department. And we're not talking about 200 or 300 businesses in town here. We're talking about, I think, approximately 22 businesses. We may identify a few others as time goes on, as we inspect businesses and the like. And the intent of this law is, one, to protect the people that work in these businesses as to storage, where you put them, how much storage you can have, and the like. It's to protect the citizens of the town that frequent these establishments, and also to protect the men and women of the public safety forces that enter these businesses in an emergency. So I was hoping that we could get the approval of the board to change this from a biannual permit, which, you know, is what's gone on historically in the fire department, to an annual permit, which is in line with 527 CMR 14, which is the fire prevention code. That gives us a tool and an opportunity to go into these big box stores or garages and the like that do store these dangerous materials on an annual basis, issue the permit, go out, look at the facility, and make sure that they're all stored properly. So I figured I'd be brief tonight, just hopefully have the support of the board.
Thank you so much, Deputy. Are there questions from members of the board?
Madam Chairman?
Selectman Dever.
Just one question.
No problem.
I didn't see it in the packet of information. The fee. What is the fee now?
The fee is $50, and it's a biannual fee.
It's here, but you could barely see it.
Yeah, it may be just a copy.
So the fee will remain the same at
fee will
this
remain the
point,
same.
but it will be annual?
Yes,
Thank you.
yeah, no problem.
Madam Chair?
Selectman Panetta.
Yes, I had to look at it a couple of times because it looks like it's faded out the
No
way
problem.
we have it. Is this what other cities and towns are doing? Are they also doing annual?
Absolutely, and this is in line with the state law and also what the surrounding communities do. As Selectman Panetta knows, I've been here before and talked about these
Sure.
fees, different, fees in our schedule and the like, but this will bring us in line with all the surrounding communities. It's an obligation on the fire chief, and it's an annual obligation.
Are there other fees? Are there other types of things that we're not up to code on?
Well, again, we've met before on several fees. and
Yes, I was just wondering if you were planning, are you going through each one of them? Are there others? Should we be anticipating you coming before us again?
The other fee in here is ammunition, cannon, and gunpowder storage. That's every 2 years. That could possibly be an annual fee, but it's really not something that we're permitting on a frequent basis. I think there's only one out there right now. I mean, there's sort of a freedom there for people to keep their own ammunition and the like, some people will come in with a black powder permit or something like that, but if we have one out there this year, I'd be surprised. So I wouldn't really change that. I'm more concerned about something that's more common, like I said, a Meineke or something like that, or a big box store like Home Depot and the like. They could change things on a seasonal basis. They could have something flammable in an exit passageway that we may not like. Tell them, hey, let's move it over here, protect the public better. So, again, I don't think that I'll be here for something like this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions of members from the board? This is a public hearing. Is anybody here to speak in favor or in opposition? Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the hearing?
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Cassidy moves to close the public hearing, seconded by the chair. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. What are the wishes of the board?
Madam Chairman, I'll make the motion to change the regulation from biannual to annual in accordance with the fire department's recommendation.
Selectman Cassidy's motion is seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very much.
so
Thanks for your
Deputy.
support.
Next on the agenda, we have Burger King Corporation for a common victualer's license. This is a public hearing. Good evening, sir. Your name and address for the clerk, please.
Adel bin Sadiq, the store manager, Burger King at 720 Broadway, Route 1 North. We would like to renew the license. It was like we were a little bit behind because there is like a different owner. So it was like the procedure a little bit, it was like a little bit, behind. But I think right now we paid all the taxes that we were behind. And the file, I think it's in full right now, in your hand, right?
They are paid up to date. So, are there any questions of the board members?
Madam Chair?
Selectman Panetta?
So just to be clear, you're saying, because you got quite a few notifications that your license was up without payment, and now you're coming before us because it was revoked, and you're saying that the reason why is because there was a change in ownership?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did this change of ownership take place?
It was on December 2012.
December 2012?
Yeah. And it was Burger King Corporation before, and a franchise, Northeast Food, that took over of the restaurants with many other ones in Northeast. And, when it is change, it is always, some taxes that were for Burger King Corporation that they didn't pay. And right now, I think we paid all of them right now.
I believe it was an address issue.
Right.
They didn't renew the license.
Correct.
They did come in and pay, so it was not revoked, but they did not apply for the renewal,
For
which
renewal,
is
they
why
never got
it
any of it,
expired,
correct?
and
Okay.
they had to come
And
in
everything
for
was
new.
going to the wrong location, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we were sending information to the wrong location?
It was the wrong information that was provided to the town.
It was the prior
It was
address.
the prior address, so
I see.
But this is the new corporation that's advertised here.
So for a year, it's, because he said that the new ownership came December 2012, and now we're in January 2014, so it's been a year to get this squared away?
mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other members of the board have any questions of the applicant? Seeing none, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak in favor or in opposition of the application? Seeing none, is there a motion to close the hearing?
I'll make a motion, Madam Chair, to close the public hearing.
Selectman Panetta moves to close the public hearing, seconded by the chair. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. With the wishes of the board.
Madam Chair,
Selectman Panetta.
I'll make a motion for Burger King Corporation, NEF 720 Broadway, for a common victuals license.
Seconded by the chair. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those,
Madam Chairman?
Selectman
I
Dever.
believe the previous common victuals had hours of operation. Did we want to add that, Selectman?
What are
Panetta?
your hours of operation, sir?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, your hours of operation?
Sunday to Monday from 6 to midnight.
What, midnight?
And except Thursday, Friday, and Saturday until 2 a.m. Just drive-through from 10 to 2, just drive-through. So
If you
it's,
could just
I'm
speak
sorry,
a little
I'm so
bit
sorry,
slower,
it's okay.
sir. There is a bit of a language barrier, so if you could sleep a little bit slower.
okay, so it's Sunday,
6 to 2,
Sun-
here you go.
Sunday
Oh,
to
great.
Wednesday, 6 in the morning until 10 p.m. for the dining room, and the drive-through until 12, until midnight.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the,
Thank you so
so the hours are 6 a.m. to 2 a.m., including a drive-through window and a limit of 78 seats. Now, are these hours 7 days a week?
Yeah. But, yeah.
Are there any other updates, any other changes board members would like to know? Thank you.
You're welcome.
There you go.
You're welcome.
Further discussion? That's your motion.
Do you want to put the number of seats? Do we have the number of seats in here?
I just put it all in the motion.
Okay. That wasn't on that piece of paper. Does somebody have the number of
Okay.
seats?
78.
Thank you. I did say 78. Okay, perfect. Just want to make sure that everything is covered. All right. Number of tables, is that in there?
No, it's not. Just seats.
I think we're good.
I'll second that motion. All in favor, will say aye.
Aye.
I oppose. Motion passes 5-0. Good luck.
Good luck.
Old business. We have a couple of folks here who seem to be the most patient, regular visitors to our board. These are the folks from the Tumble Inn Restaurant regarding compliance date and request for extension.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board.
Good
My
evening.
name is Laurie Kuna, 134 Falcon Street, East Boston. I am here regarding the Tumble Inn Diner and an extension for the grease trap.
As you know, you've heard discussion tonight, you've heard discussion many times. We are now in the process, hopefully, of completing our due diligence to try to get the information we need to make the most responsible decision for the community as well as for the business owners. The members of the board, a couple of them in particular, Mr. Castanetti, Selectman Castanetti, Selectman Dever, have done extensive research on what would be available. Our clerk has also done extensive research on it. We have received some materials from the town manager on this. They seem to be more local from you, the information you gave, and I thought that that wasn't a direction, but everybody coming to the table certainly would be helpful. So that was a little bit of a surprise. I'm going to ask if one of the members, well, how the members feel about this. I think these people have been extremely patient, and we're coming down to, I believe, a successful determination.
Madam Chairman, I think that we've been extending this for a while now, and I think we're in sight of the end. And
Yes.
I think another extension would be appropriate, in my opinion.
Would you like to define that extension?
When are we meeting again? 2 weeks? Is that what we're going to
Yes.
discuss in 2 weeks? Why don't we do another 30-day extension?
30 days.
Madam Chair?
Selectman Panetta.
I certainly don't have a problem extending another 30 days to the owners of the Tumble Inn. I do have one question. The last time I believe you came before us and we were discussing this, the Board of Health had an issue regarding the internal grease trap, and I was wondering if that issue was resolved.
Yes, it has been.
Richard Sirocco, Distinguished Board. We did have the service provided to clean out the interceptor properly. As we did take over in November, we weren't sure when the prior clean out took place, so we did take the appropriate steps.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Madam Chairman, 30-day
Selectman
extension.
Castanetti moves that the board extend the request for the tumble in on the compliance to 30 days, which would bring us to March 11th, seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you so much, and thank you for your
Thank you for your
patience.
time.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a good
you.
evening.
Good night.
Good night. That brings us to the town manager's report.
The board asked for a flood mitigation plan update, and as we talked about, we have our economic development coordinator as well as the building commissioner that's working on digesting the information to see what the town can do to increase the ratings that would result in, possible discounts for people that are in a flood zone. And they're in the process of that, trying to tabulate and analyze what information they need to be able to apply for that.
Madam Chairman?
Selectman Panetta. Excuse
Oh,
me,
I'm
Deborah.
sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm here.
I
both
didn't know
of us.
if you
Selectman
had asked.
Deborah.
Mr. Chairman, there's been quite a bit written regarding the floodplain mitigation, and a number of communities are adopting bylaws regarding their zoning and building within certain areas. And so the only reason that I ask for the floodplain mitigation plan is a deadline is approaching. Hopefully, it will be extended, but
For the implementation.
for the implementation of the increased rates. Hopefully, it will not be a quick decision, and there will be some time. But having said that, and I appreciate the hard work of everyone, if we're going to look at bylaws that would be part of a mitigation plan, do you feel that they could be brought before the next annual?
I
Or
think
is
the-
that too soon?
I think it might be a little soon, and we may have to have a special if to do that, but I think we're going to work at the best we can do. I think, part of it is, and I think you guys went to the MMA, I think, did some of you attend a workshop on it?
Yes.
So maybe the thing is, what would be helpful too is that if you got some information on that, if you could share that with
Be happy
Robert
to.
and myself, that would be helpful, because I know that the manual for the rating system is like 700 pages, and they've been trying to go through it, and they've had, the Economic Development Coordinator and Building Commission, they've had contact with a representative, and he's laid out what you would need to do, and, as far as, you can go from a rating from 1, I think, to 9, and it depends on how much is involved and what you could possibly do within the town. So they're trying to figure out trying to digest it, but whatever other information you have, I think would be helpful. They are going to be attending, the Economic Development Coordinator is attending a conference tomorrow with Congressman Taney's office is running it, for more information on the mitigation. So that's, I think, tomorrow, either in the morning or afternoon. So they're definitely working on this and trying to figure out what can be done to sort of mitigate.
Madam Chairman, I would be happy to bring the information down. I'll give it to Wendy
Right.
to give to you or Mr. Luongo. The other thing is you're starting to see a number of bylaws appear on the MMA website that communities are adopting, particularly coastal communities. So again, I'm a big believer in not reinventing the wheel, and so maybe that might be helpful, because I think we're asking an awful lot of our economic development coordinator, and I think, I don't want to overburden him either, and there are some very good resources out there. Some of the coastal communities are far ahead of us, as you can imagine, because they've had such devastating damage. So, thank you.
Thank you. Secondly is just an update regarding the emergency ambulance services, and there's a couple of letters that I provided the board from the fire chief and police chief. I asked them to just give me an update on the transition and how that was going, and one letter, I can just read it, it's brief. It's from the fire department, talking about the transition, this is from the fire chief, that the transition to American Ambulance for the town of Saugus has been conducted in a professional manner. The response times have been approximately 4 minutes per call. The centralized location at the old fire station has led to a less lag time on scene for fire department personnel. Any minor issues that have arisen during the transition period have been handled professionally through my office and the administrative team of American Ambulance. The management team at American Ambulance has been responsive to any and all of the Saugus Fire Department's concerns in a timely manner. American Ambulance Training Division has been quick scheduling continuing education opportunities for the members of the Saugus Fire Department, and the Saugus Fire Department looks forward to an ongoing professional relationship with American Ambulance. Second update is from the police chief, Dominic DeMilla, and he basically writes that the performance of American Ambulance to date has been excellent. Chief Operating Officer Brendan McNiff and I have been communicating regularly. The police officer's certification in CPR and first responder needed to be renewed for the year, and American Ambulance is teaching the classes and renewing their certifications. We work together on preparing the application to get state approval to use American Ambulance as our emergency medical dispatch EMD provider. This saves the town from potential liability that could happen when giving medical advice over the phone. American Ambulance is picking up the hypodermic needles that are left around town. In the past, we had to send cruisers to pick up them, which tied up an officer. American Ambulance has substantially reduced response times. I believe the central location at Hamilton Street has contributed to the improved response times. Ultimately, more dedicated ambulances, faster response times, better communication, and additional services mean better service to the citizens of Saugus. And we've had a couple of meetings thus far just to go over operations through the transition with both the police and fire chief and representatives from American Ambulance. I think the communication's been very good, and the response times are better, I think, and as well as the amount of resources that we have available at a faster response.
Any questions from board members?
Madam Chairman, if I could. Mr. Manager, thank you for the update. I wanted to ask you about the community outreach programs that American Ambulance had proposed and made them so attractive to you. So have any of those been established as far as?
Sure. Community outreach, right now, they've completed first responder training with the Saugus PD, Saugus Police Department. They've provided 2-hour continuing education classes for both fire department and the police department. They've completed teacher, school nurse defibrillator training at the veteran school. They're participating in the high school Shadow Day in March that they will be doing with 2 students. And they're in the process now, and have been contacted. They're setting up a monthly blood pressure, blood glucose monitoring clinics with the senior center, the Saugus Library, and the Saugus Housing Authority. So that's what they're doing for outreach at this point.
Okay, thank you so much for that. You touched upon the monthly meetings that were going to begin, and apparently have begun, regarding performance and response times. Could we get a summary of that at some point in the future to
Sure.
take a look at that?
Absolutely.
Just because we are asked a lot of questions.
Sure.
Excuse me.
That's okay.
I have a sore throat.
Essentially, the response times are somewhere around 4 minutes at our last meeting, which is significantly faster response times that we've had in the past. And I think really where we're seeing even the bigger difference is when you go, because we have 4 ambulances that are housed here, you're actually, when you go to an A2, A3, A4 call is when you're really seeing even a larger time, which we're trying to figure out how to calculate that based on previous times. But that's where you see, because of the availability and the centrally located resource of having 4 dedicated or 4 ambulances that are here, look available for the calls.
Okay, and thank you for that. And then I have one final question. On our January 7th meeting, We had asked you to follow up on the Office of the Inspector General advisory opinion issued, so if you could do that soon in the future, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. That's all I have, Madam Chairman.
Further questions of the town manager?
I do have one question.
Selectman Panetta.
What is the deadline? We're talking about the deadline where we have to get the information in. What is that?
I'm not sure what regard to what information.
We were talking about FEMA and the coastal
Oh,
areas.
there is no deadline as far as, that's a running program, my understanding, for the
Right.
rating system.
But
so
I thought
that-
we had to have information in. Selectman Dever talked about we're reaching the deadline.
If I understood correctly, at the MMA informational opportunity that we had to attend, there is a one-year delay in implementation, and Congress has asked that FEMA take a look at affordability, do an affordability study, as well as there was a real question about the science used in drawing the maps. As was explained to us, they used a model that was very specific to the Pacific Ocean instead of the Atlantic Ocean. So the science and the redrawing itself has been called into question, and the affordability of these increased rates have also been called into. So we have a minimum of 1 year, is my understanding, and it may be extended.
I believe it could be extended up to 4 years. It passed the House, but the Senate, that it was a 4-year extension at the Senate level. There was some indication that Speaker Boehner would not be in favor of that time frame. But as Mrs. Dever stated, at a minimum, that nobody's happy.
Right.
Nobody's happy with the way these maps were drawn up, with their benchmarks that they used. There's concerns with folks not only who have never lived in a floodplain before, but there is concern or a program that is being looked into where if you own a piece of property and you want to sell your property, that policy can go with you, so that it doesn't lead these people. And we all know of people in our own community who have stated that they felt that their homes were almost, they've lost a tremendous amount of value in them because of this.
Well, I know, Madam Chair, Selectman Dever, I know that you also went to the FEMA meeting, because I
Correct.
was there, and they were talking about the year delay. This is the first I heard of a 4-year delay.
This just came out in about a week or two. It was actually after the MMA meeting, I believe, didn't it, that they suggested, because both Senators Markey and Senator Warren were mentioning the 1 year.
Right.
And then for whatever reason, the word out of Washington is that they're looking for an even further extension. And I think a lot of the focus wasn't so much on the North Shore when these articles took place, was on the South Shore. So maybe some of the newspapers that was highlighting it weren't in this area.
But you are right, there was a public outcry, not just at that meeting, but we're hearing it from our own
It's
residents and
huge.
all around.
And what is more surprising, Madam Chairman, is the fact that the science itself appears to have been flawed.
Very flawed,
That
that's
That
right.
was used. So it gives all of us an opportunity to step back and see what we can do as a community in the way of bylaws, in the way of future building and development, that if an increase comes forward, we've got some protections in place, so.
So we got to get ahead of the ball game on that one.
Yeah. Madam Chairman, just to go back, I think, just on a personal note, as a resident of Saugus, I'm pretty grateful for the ambulance service, and I had my wife, as many probably know, my daughter has a severe peanut allergy, and tree nut allergy, and she's 4, and my wife was driving with her, and she went into anaphylactic shock, and this is the first time she's had any kind of reaction. We've been told that she has this condition, but we sort of never had the issue with it. And she broke out with rash and her throat closed. But she was on Central Street, and she had called me she was going to drive to Melrose Wakefield, and I said, just drive over here to the ambulance company. And I called 911, and I raced down from my house, and the time I got down here, I jumped in the ambulance and went to Mass General with them. But, you know, the service that they gave was very professional, very good, and I was actually thankful that they were available and here and had the resources. So just from a personal standpoint, very good service. My first time having to deal with it.
Nothing more frightening than a child.
I don't want to do, yeah, my wife was very shooken up by it, and my daughter was actually pretty brave about it, but think she was glad that I was with her and took the ride in the ambulance, so. But I just wanted to say that I thought that things went very well under the circumstances, so,
Glad she's okay.
yeah.
Next, we have the approval of the minutes. The January 7th. Does anybody have any corrections?
Madam Chair, I'll make
Selectman Panetta?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes dated January 7, 2014, barring any changes or updates this evening.
Seconded by the chair. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. January 28th.
Madam Chairman?
Selectman Dever?
I'd like to offer an amendment. It is on page 5 of 6. It is under SCTS/SCTV. What I'd like to do, with the support of the board, is to include in our minutes the legal opinion provided by Special Counsel Ira Zalesnik, instructing the board on the actions that it may take. I think it would help anyone reading the minutes. It would also help clarify the vote that is needed by SCTS to dissolve as a nonprofit. So that is my motion. In this day and age with email being such a common form of communication, I'd like to see the minutes reflect the opinion of the attorney. So that is my motion, to include his instructions. And I have a copy for you if the board supports this one.
Any other corrections by members of the board?
I just have a question,
Certainly.
because I wasn't sure. Page 4 of 6, and it is in the second full paragraph where it starts off with Ms. Dever. And this is from you, Selectman Castanetti. You talk about the hours. Selectman Dever said that with the hours of operation, and then you itemized the hours of operation, and I thought you added something else too, the number of seats, or the number of cars. I thought maybe you added in there. I thought there were, because I added 2 things, and I thought you added 2 things. And I haven't been able to watch the full meeting to capture what that second thing was. You don't remember?
I'm just reading it again to see if it's jogging my memory. I don't recall, but let's see what I have here. I believe, didn't we talk about restricting the parking on Spring Street, using the spaces right on Spring Street? I think that's probably what you're talking about. I think that was part of the motion at the time, to not use the spots that are right on Spring Street.
Maybe that was it. I just thought there was, I remember you commenting on 2 special things.
I think that's what you're alluding to.
Okay.
Is everything that you wanted addressed in here?
You can add that if you'd like, if people are comfortable with that. That was part of the motion.
It was part of the special permit, Madam Chairman, as well.
Okay. Are there any other further additions or corrections?
Actually, that's already on there.
Doesn't it say here, Mr. Allen?
It says Mr. Allen added
Strike
strike
restricted
restricted parking near Spring Street.
And then he withdrew that.
You withdrew that, okay.
So,
Okay. So it's actually in there anyway, it's just a little different terminology.
okay. Any other corrections, additions? Seeing none? Motion to accept? That makes a motion to, Selectman Panetta makes a motion to accept with the restrictions. You already made that. Seconded by the chair. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. The last meeting minutes that we have is the joint meeting between the Board of Selectmen and the School Committee from January 30th of 2014.
Madam Chair?
Selectman Panetta.
I will make a motion to accept the minutes dated January 30th, 2014, between the Saugus Board of Selectmen and the Saugus School Committee, barring any changes or updates.
Seconded by the chair. Any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-2.
Abstain, Madam Chairman, I was not at the meeting.
Okay. 4-0. Abstention. Okay. Okay, next we have appointments. Last evening, the board held interviews for positions on the Affordable Housing Trust Board of Trustees. We have had 8 highly qualified individuals apply for 5 current positions. This evening, we are only able to appoint 5, and we are extremely grateful to all of those who have applied. For those that are not chosen, we hope that you will consider other openings where your talents may be of service to Saugus. The town is rapidly changing, and we are fortunate to receive interest from so many residents with such diverse offerings to assist in moving Saugus forward. And on behalf of the board, again, I want to thank everybody who applied for the positions on this and who continue to offer their services in volunteerism to the town of Saugus. That being said, we do have the applicant's information before us.
Madam Chairman?
What are the wishes of the board? Selectman Dever?
Madam Chairman, I'd like to offer the name of Anne Marie Warr to the Affordable Housing Trust Board of Trustees. Ms. Warr is new to volunteering for a board and commission. Her resume is impeccable. She has strong experience in lending, and more importantly, she's actually worked with another community developing affordable housing. And it is a wonderful addition, I feel, to this board, and I'm very thankful that she applied, so I would like to offer her name for nomination.
Selectman Dever moves to appoint Anne Marie Warr to the Affordable Housing Trust Board of Trustees, seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I was really impressed with her resume. In fact, I was really impressed, as the chairman said, with all of the candidates from last night. Their resumes, their passion for what they do, and their passion and their love for Saugus really was inspiring, and I'm so glad to see people move forward. So with that said, I think that Anne Marie Warr I was very impressed with her, so I fully support that nomination.
Very nice. Further discussion?
Madam Chairman, I would absolutely support Anne Marie Warr. She was remarkable.
She truly was. Mr. Cassidy?
Ditto.
Ditto. I think we all agree Mrs. Warr was very, very impressive. All those in favor of appointing Anne Marie Warr?
I was going to say aye. I was ahead of you.
You are just that excited.
Sorry.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0.
Madam Chairman,
Selectman Castanetti.
I'd like to nominate William Lucy for the position on the Affordable Housing Trust, and I think most people here know Bill. And I guess just by being with Janet for so many years, Bill certainly is very, very familiar with most of the issues that affect our town that Janet was involved with, and I think Bill would be a great asset to the board. So I'll nominate Bill Lucy.
Seconded by the chair. Comments?
Madam Chairman?
Selectman Dever?
Just to say that Mr. Lucy is very well respected and actually very loved by many of us who had the honor and the pleasure to work with Janet. So I think he will be a wonderful asset, and I welcome him.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Selectman Panetta?
I think what was wonderful about William Lucy when he came, and he is beloved, I absolutely agree, is how he talked about how him and Janet Lucy, his wife for many, many years, drove around to all around Saugus, and they knew the homes, and they knew what the mission was and the goal and the scope of the affordable housing. And he said, I have all those notes, and he was just so passionate of continuing the will that his wife, Janet Lucy, wanted him to. And it was beautiful, it really was, and his love for Saugus, again, was inspiring. So again, I fully support that nomination.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, I would, since William Lucy is going to be replacing Janet, and Janet had the unexpired appointment, I would recommend that we'd also give him the unexpired appointment.
Good point, okay.
Good idea.
Well, I think that I certainly, as Mr. Cassidy said, ditto everything about Janet and her husband, the time that they have given to our community, the commitment they've given, the struggles that they went through with health issues, and to still be able to achieve the many positive things for our community. They were a real team when it came to the work that they did, and I think that Bill alluded to that last night, that it was, yes, Janet was the name, and Bill did an awful lot of the chauffeuring, I believe is what he said. It's a real team effort, and I think Bill will do a fabulous job, and so I totally support this as well.
Madam Chairman?
Selectman Allen.
I step back for a second. I gotta wait for the motion to be made. I was jumping ahead of the gun.
Pardon me?
I was moving ahead. I'm backing off.
Oh, you're backing, you want to take the vote? You want to take the vote on Bill before you jump? Okay. All those in favor of appointing Mr. William Lucy to the unexpired term, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Mr. Allen, did you want to say something?
I did. Moving a little bit too quickly. I wanted to make a motion to reappoint Joya Ciccolini for a 3-year term to expire on December 31st, 2016.
Mr. Allen moves to reappoint Joya Ciccolini to a 3-year term, seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion?
Only a comment. Only a comment.
A comment. Okay.
And just to show you, and the folks at home, the quality of the people that came before us last night, every single one of them. This particular applicant brought us information in real time of what Saugus looks like as far as affordable housing and where we need to go, and really gave us all an education. And so she did a great job, and I'd be happy to support her renomination.
Very well said.
Madam Chair?
Selectman Panetta.
Joya Ciccolini came, not only was she prepared, but she followed up, and questions that we had, she sent us an email how she was going to continue to follow up. She's been very diligent. She knew her numbers. She had all the history. She was very well prepared, and I will be more than excited to support this nomination. Again, they're all wonderful candidates. We're very, very lucky in Saugus to have all these people step forward.
I just want, very briefly, I think her preparation, like everybody said, really spoke volumes for her commitment to the board, and I support it as well.
Thank you. I would love to continue talking on it, but I think that you folks have said just about all there needs to say. She's a wonderful candidate. She's very organized. She's very disciplined. She's very committed, and I wholeheartedly support this. Okay, all those in favor of Joya Ciccolini being appointed for a 3-year term, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Madam Chair?
Selectman Panetta.
I would like to make a motion to reappoint Christopher Finn. I thought that he did a terrific job in his interview, and the idea that the bylaw that he proposed in front of town meeting on dilapidated houses got passed, him being an attorney and really understanding the ins and the outs of affordable housing, I thought he would be, to be reappointed again would be a nice addition to the Affordable Housing Committee, as it is. Thank you.
Selectman Panetta moves to reappoint Christopher Finn, seconded by the chair. Is there discussion?
Madam Chairman, I'd like to
Selectman
make a
Cassidy.
substitute motion.
Okay.
because there's a couple of folks on here that I think probably should be on this committee, but the first one I'd like to substitute would be Tom Travers. Tom's been on the board since the beginning, I think he said last night, 7 to 8 years, and I think his passion spoke volumes for him as well last night. So I'd like to support Tom before anyone else for a reappointment.
Okay, substitute motion by Selectman Castanetti to appoint Tom Travers, seconded by the chair. Is there discussion?
Madam Chair?
Selectman Panetta.
I think that Tom would be a great addition. I mean, he's been there for, like you said, 7 or 8 years. He's one of the starting members. Obviously, he has the background. He clearly was prepared, and he had the passion. So I am fully in support of that nomination, but I do hope that Chris Finn comes up with the next one.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the substitute motion to appoint Tom Travers to the Affordable Housing Trust Board of Trustees to reappoint, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Madam Chairman?
Selectman Deba.
This is where it becomes very difficult, because we had such wonderful candidates, but I cannot help but be struck about Marion DeWicki, who has currently served on the Affordable Housing Committee, is a huge advocate for the disabled, was articulate, was caring, was passionate, was determined, and in looking at the appointments that we have already confirmed, I think we have a nice mix of brand-new volunteers and a mix of individuals who have some experience. And as difficult as it is, because we have such good candidates, I would like to offer Marion DeWicki's name into nomination for reappointment.
Selectman Deba moves to reappoint Marion DeWicki to the Affordable Housing Trust Board of Trustees, seconded by the chair. Is there discussion?
Madam Chairman.
Selectman Castanetti.
I agree with Selectman Dever. I thought Marion was very inspirational last night. I think in light of the entire situation, she's certainly demonstrated a commitment and overcoming some significant obstacles to make that commitment and be a part of this, and I would support that.
Further comment?
I'm good.
Madam Chair?
Second Panetta.
I mean, clearly, she was an amazing woman. I mean, she
Yes.
came in and she was inspirational, and she had a love. I mean, she's a reappointment as well, and she truly had a love for the affordable housing. So if that is the will of the committee, I think that she's, again, they're all, you can't go wrong with this group of people. Any one of them would do an outstanding job for this community.
And I think that we all agree with that. We've said it many times this evening. It was read before this because she knew it was going to get, you want to say, well, maybe we could open more. There's only a finite number of appointments. I do feel that, as Mr. Castanetti said, when Mrs. DeWicki came in and what she has offered, what she has been through, and what she has achieved, her volunteerism with folks that have faced the same challenges as her, I'm wholeheartedly supporting this nomination. Again, I wish that there were the opportunity. I hope that if the folks who are not going to be appointed tonight certainly look in the directions, there's a lot of places in town for a lot of people to serve. So with that, the motion's been seconded. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor of appointing Marion DeWicki, reappointing Marion DeWicki to the Affordable Housing Trust Board of Trustees will say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you all very much.
Madam Chair?
Selectman Panetta.
We should, if we don't have one already, we should consider having a talent bank where people that are interested in different, whether they be committees or commissions or keep their resume on file, their application on file if something comes up, and if there's a vacancy, we can call them. I'm not sure if we have anything like that in Saugus.
Not to my knowledge, but under the open meeting law, we cannot have any further discussion on that. You can just throw the idea out
I'm just
there.
throwing the idea out.
So why don't we put that on our next agenda so that we can have a great discussion, because I think it's fantastic.
Okay, thank you.
How's that? Thank you. Next is the members' comment period. This week, we will be starting with Selectman Panetta.
Just give me a second.
Certainly.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. First of all, I'm sorry for being late. With the time change, it made it a little bit difficult, so I'm not 100% prepared.
Would you like me to go to Selectman Castanetti while you
Could you
get
go
your
to him
thoughts
first?
together?
Could you go to him first,
By
and then
all
I'll be
means,
second?
Selectman Castanetti.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just have one thing. As soon as I get to my calendar here, I'll let you know what it is.
Okay, you're out too.
No, I'm ready to roll.
I'm good now, I'm good now, I have what I want.
On, get to the right month. Do I have it in my calendar? You know what, maybe you
Hold on
better
for
go
a
back.
minute.
I'm good.
Selectman
I'm-
Allen?
I'm good.
Go ahead.
I'm going to pass it
Sure,
on
you
to
sure you
Selectman
good?
Panetta.
I'm all good, thank you.
I'm good. I'm
First,
good.
I want to congratulate the Boy Scouts, Troop Number 62, at the Saugus Congregational Church. They had their annual Boy Scout dinner, the roast beef dinner, which was wonderful. Pastor Bob was there as always, and I want to thank John Kane and Mike Furbush, and David Craig, and Chris Finney, and I'm sure I'm missing quite a few folks. These leaders are nurturing our young men, and they're doing an outstanding job. And who will be coming before us very soon are 4 young boys who are just made Eagle Scouts, so that's exciting. I am sure that the board, just like when Mike Furbush recently got his Eagle, will be going to their celebrations, we'll be getting invitations. So I just want to make sure that we all know that. That's really exciting when we see our youth and how much they've been excelling. So that's terrific. The next, I just want to quickly pass out. This is Shamrock Sunday. Not that you folks don't have enough to do, but the Saugus River Watershed Council is having on March 2nd from 6 to 8, Greenwood Wine and Spirits. It's actually in Wakefield, 969 Main Street, and this is to support the Saugus River Watershed Council. So if people are interested, if you just go into Saugus River Watershed Council and just make a reservation, and you could pay at the door if you so desire, and it's $10. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that. Next, the Saugus Economic Development Committee will hold a follow-up community meeting at the Fox Hill Yacht Club at the Ballard Street on Wednesday, February 26th at 7 p.m. We all went, I believe, to the first meeting, which was very well attended. And the purpose of this meeting is to present to area residents, businesses, towns, and state officials, stakeholders, and the public at large a draft of the Waterfront Mixed-Use Overlay District. And again, all the notes that were taken at the last meeting are up on the Saugus website. And several days before the meeting, the area residents will be reminded of the event via the town's reverse 911 system. And all Saugus residents, anyone interested in the waterfront or Route 107 is welcome to attend, and additional information can be found on the Saugus Town Hall website under the Economic Development Department or by a phone call. And lastly, my last thing, in our packet, and we may have discussed this in the past, but I just didn't want it to get lost in our packet. The Board of Health, it was on February 3rd, and they have the Solid Waste Facility Environmental Performance Standards. I'm sure that everyone read that. I really like this. And it talks about the maximum permissible sound pressure level and the number of decibels and the noise that has been problematic. They don't address the landfill. It might be something that they may want to think about. Oh, this is from the Board of Health. And then they talk about a violation and a fine with that particular violation. So this was in the packet. I think if we have any comments that we could, of course, get back to the Board of Health. But just in case you didn't have time to read it, I thought this was really very powerful. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chairman, if I could just comment on Selectman Panetta's last
Certainly.
Area of discussion. I just want to commend the Board of Health because I think none of the residents of Precinct 10 and Precinct 3 want to go through what they went through last spring and summer with excessive noise and excessive odor. And unfortunately, the site assignment does not address those issues. So the Board of Health and the town's hands were somewhat tied. My understanding of the regulation that they've been working on for many, many months is that it cannot specifically deal with the landfill. It has to be broad enough so that it is enforceable and yet isn't, specific to the landfill. So they've really worked hard on this, so please give them my thanks, and I'm sure Precinct 3 and Precinct 10, and most of the town will have a great deal of thanks to offer if they're not getting woken up at 2, 3, 4 in the morning with noise.
Selectman Castanetti, did you find that in your
I
book?
found my email, thank you. Saugus Military Families, I'm not sure how many people are aware of it, I know Paul is, will be hosting a welcome home ceremony to honor our Vietnam-era veterans on Saturday, March 29th, 2014. And for those of you that are a little too young to remember Vietnam, this is 40 years since the war ended. And it's probably the first time that I can recall that Vietnam veterans were welcomed home to this country. It's long overdue and much appreciated. And it'll be on, again, Saturday, March 29th, Vietnam Veterans Day. It'll be held at the Saugus VFW, Post 2346, 190 Main Street in Saugus, from 6 to 10 p.m. And if anyone out there listening or watching this evening, or anyone here, knows of a Saugus Vietnam veteran, Vietnam-era veteran, please make it known so that we can send them an invitation, so that Saugus military families can send them an invitation. We're trying to round up as many as possible, and there are a lot of Vietnam veterans out there that we're not even aware of. So please pass the word March 29th, Saturday, 6 to 10 p.m. for all Vietnam-era veterans, whether you served in country or not. Thank you.
Selectman Castanetti, if they want to be recognized at that, who would they contact?
I would contact Joanne Rappa, and they'll be interviewed by the veterans agent here in town.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Selectman Castanetti, are there tickets to attend?
I think there's going to be limited number of people that will allow in there because of the size of the hall. You can check with Joanne.
Okay, thank you.
One other thing I might want to mention, a lot of the Vietnam veterans have already passed on. Scary thought, but anybody that had a Vietnam veteran in the family who's no longer with us, if they'd like to participate, please make that known as well to anyone on Saugus Military Families or our town clerk, Joanne Rappa.
Very nice.
And I'll just touch on what Selectman Castanetti was saying, because I believe that the board will be invited. We'll get formal invitations to attend this. And what they're going to end up doing for attendance for other people would be, we're going to see how many Vietnam veterans will sign up to be recognized, and then once we fill those seats, whatever seats are left over, will be open to the public.
Terrific. Is there anything else you'd like to bring up, Selectman Allen?
I think that covers me for this evening. Thank you very much.
Selectman Dever?
Just a few things. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Manager, could I just follow up on a correspondence we got? Do you know if there was an appointment to the Council on Aging? Richard Barry, the chairman, had sent a letter off on the 14th asking for a new member on the Council on Aging.
We just, actually, I just saw a correspondence, I think this week, somebody asking to be re-upped.
Right.
And I think
So you'll take care of that
Susan's
for
handling
us?
it, yes.
Thank you. I'd just like to let the public know that we have some openings on boards and commissions coming up. And the one that is currently being advertised and on our bulletin board is we have position on the Library Board of Trustees, and we ask that you send a letter of interest or a resume to the Board of Selectmen no later than March 3rd. We have Zoning Board of Appeals appointments that will be made in March. Again, we ask those interested to send a letter of interest or resume by March 3rd to the Saugus Board of Selectmen. I just wanted to follow up if we had a response to our clerk on the land donation. I know we needed various boards and commissions to give us their input. before we could accept this donation? Looks like they've been somewhat patient.
Yes, I just sent them a letter you should have in there also. That'll be on next agenda because I just received the last recommendation as required.
Thank you. And to the board members, I'm going to send along to everyone a first try at a SurveyMonkey question, and I'd love your input.
Thank you.
And that's all I have tonight, Madam Chairman.
To our clerk, we have an opening on the Cemetery Commission due to a relocation. Is that correct? Would you please advertise that? Okay, thank you.
The others?
I think that would be a great idea. Sure, the March 3rd deadline. Being the chairperson, I don't like to be redundant, so I'm going to,
I
pardon me?
forgot one thing, Madam Chairman.
Mrs. Deborah forgot one
Thank you.
thing, so
One
you go
thing.
right ahead.
See, we all forget something. I just wanted to let everyone know that on March 8th, the First Congregational Church right here in Saugus Center will be having a corned beef and cabbage dinner from 4 to 6 for $12. It's a great opportunity to sit with your neighbors and residents and enjoy a great meal, so I would urge everyone to look at their calendars and have some corned beef and cabbage at the church on March 8th. Thanks.
Well, with that, I will wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day. I hope the children enjoyed their school vacation. Be safe next week. And if there's nothing further that the board would like to bring up, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Seconded by the chair. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Good night and have a great week.
Thank you.